Adoptees in New York State could soon have immediate access to their birth certificates if they're over the age of 18. Why is this significant? Well, current law states birth certificates for adopted children can only be released by petitioning the courts and asking for access. But if Governor Cuomo signs the bill passed by the legislature this summer, that will change, making New York the 10th state to give adult adoptees unrestricted access to their birth certificates. While this is being hailed as a major victory by adoptee rights advocates, the road ahead still has its share of questions and challenges. An adult adoptee support group in Rochester is focused on assisting and uplifting fellow adoptees as they continue to navigate the highs and lows of what some call the endless journey. Joining me to share more is founder of the Rochester Adoptee Support Group, Jenny Thomas, and she's joined by Cam Simpson, an adoptee and a member of the local group. And welcome to you both. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
So when you heard the news this summer that the Senate and the Assembly passed a bill to give adult adoptees immediate access to their birth certificates, what went through your minds? And Jenny, I'll start with you.
Disbelief, initially.
Why disbelief?
Because we'd been there before, trying to pass this bill and wanting access, and it just seemed as though we would get there and we didn't. So this time it was very surreal. And I was a little numb, and I had to officially find out that this really happened and not something on social media. So yeah, it was excitement, but it was disbelief.
Cam, what about you?
I think I was shocked. As Jenny said, it was a little bit of disbelief because it's been so long. And it's a law that they've been going by since 1935, I believe, and they tried to fight it in the past, and it just kept getting denied and denied and denied. So, and I don't know if I still believe it until I actually have it in my hand.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So tell me about when we look at the current state law, what we've had in place for decades, what types of barriers and limitations does that law present for adoptees like yourselves when trying to learn more about your history, your bloodlines?
For me, it was a complete brick wall because the identifying information that I had was so limited that it was next to impossible to navigate through anything, to find any answers. So it was really nothing to work with. Mm-hmm. So I had nothing to go by. So it was a blank slate, and there was really no beginning or ending to it. Right. It was just kind of nowhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. The information's so limited, and you get information from the state, and then you can request information from the agency that you were adopted through, and the information was different.
Oh, so what types of information were they presenting you with?
Well, when I requested the information from the state, I don't know if you did or not, but it was very vague. They had no information on my biological father, and the information on my biological mother was very limited, just how tall she was, the age she was when she began prenatal care, I think she was 4 months when she started her prenatal care, things of that nature. However, when I requested the information from the agency, there was like 3 pages on my family, you know, so it kind of left me, I didn't really know what to believe. And then, you know, what my parents told me, so like she said, you don't know what to really believe, and you know, so.
Well, Jenny, your face, for some of our viewers, they might be recognizable. I mean, you made national headlines back in 2016, and this was when TLC's Long Lost Family highlighted you, and they shared your story. Not just your story, but also your journey to finding your birth parents. Yeah. And I want to know first, how long prior to information being revealed to you had you been trying to access information?
Over 10 years. Wow. Stopping and going, but over 10 years. The process in itself was, it was grueling because, excuse me, there was, like I said, limited information, so there wasn't really any place that you could go to access the information. So it was a lot of stop and go for me, and taking steps back. So 10 plus years.
So when you, on the show, we had an opportunity to see you meet your birth mother and to see this reunion. So what was that experience like for you? And then what happened afterwards, after that reunion?
It was absolutely surreal because it was a dream come true moment. So it was like your biggest desire, your biggest dream actually coming into fruition. So that in itself was pretty overwhelming. So it was very surreal and dreamlike. Unfortunately, after the reunion, the relationship flatlined. So there was no progression. I think not being able to deal with the emotional,
It's a heaviness, I would have to imagine.
heaviness of the situation. I don't think that she was able to really deal with that in a healthy way.
And Cam, you were introduced, you first saw Jenny because you watched her story unfold on TLC.
I did.
And you yourself have your own unique story. You were 12 years old when you found out that you had been adopted.
Right.
So talk a little bit about what your journey has been like to try to identify your birth parents.
Sure. So I asked my parents when they told me I was adopted, and they told me about the age of 12. However, I don't recall, I don't remember. I don't think it was that big of a deal to me because at that age, because I did have a good life. I came from a very good family that raised me and loved me. As I got older, probably into my late teens, early 20s, is when I began to wonder more about who I was. Who do I look like? Where's my family? Are they thinking about me? Things of that nature. My parents were always open with me about my adoption and my parents being from Kenya, Africa. So I had always known that, and when I did get my information from the state, it was confirmed. So I began to, like Jenny said, it's kind of like a stop and go thing. I think I registered with almost every adoption registry you can think of, thinking that they could probably help me or find me. I've searched probably for about 15 to 20 years with no luck. When I saw Jenny on Long Lost Family, I watched the show all the time, and when I saw her on it, it gave me hope, a lot of hope and motivation, and we connected, and I did a DNA test through Ancestry. Long story short, I connected with some relatives, and they helped me find my biological mother. She lives in Georgia. I found her almost 2 years ago. I still have not met her. As Jenny says, I think it's a trauma. I really think for a birth mother to give their baby away, that's a trauma.
So is it in terms of that meeting with your mom, and you said you haven't met her yet,
No.
is it something that's a desire for you and maybe hard for her, or is it roles vice versa?
I think it's harder for her than it is for me.
Okay.
We talked on the phone often, conversate, but when I would mention about us meeting or, about my biological father's side, there would be a wall. So I think it's just really hard for her. I did find my biological father's side just this past February. I am in contact with the family. However, I have not met anyone yet, and my biological father hasn't come forth yet, so. Yeah.
Well, one thing I've learned in conversations with you, Jenny, is that every adoptee story is very different, and every story is unique.
Yes.
And I know that starting this group, there was a need that you saw, you identified a need, in part, I believe, because of your own journey, but also because you have become a resource for people not just within Rochester, but around the globe, who saw your story, and you're a coach, supporting them and helping them as they're trying to identify their parents and develop these bonds. Talk a little bit about the need you saw in Rochester for this support group, and really the mission, like what you hope it will present or what you hope it will do for those who attend.
The need was based out of a request. People would reach out to me and say, hey, do you know about any adoptee support groups? And I didn't. And I didn't realize at the time that I hadn't even navigated through some of my own feelings and being able to talk to other people, other than, you know, the times when I would coach or, you know, assist people in their search. I wasn't really releasing some of the stuff that I had within me about the process, about finding my biological family and being able to really unpack some of that stuff. So the need came from people reaching out to me, and I tried to find an adoptee support group, and there was adoption support groups for adoptive parents and foster family support groups, but there was no adoptee support group that I was aware of. And so after saying, hey, I don't know about any, I can't find any, I realized that I needed to start the group because there was a need. There was a need, and whether it's 2, 3, or 4 that come together, there's progress that is made in those small groups and in larger ones. But it came out of a need. Yeah.
Before we close, I want to touch upon this bill, once signed by Governor Cuomo. Yes, it will give you immediate access to your birth certificate, but what comes with that? Why is having this information so important?
For me, it acknowledges that I was even born. At this stage in my life, at this point, I can't tell you what time I was born. I can't tell you where I was born. I can't tell you the names on the birth certificate. I can't tell you how much I weighed. I can't give you any identifying pertinent information about myself. So it's almost like I don't exist, because the only thing that I have is something that was created in a courtroom after my adoption, which is very cut and dry. It's mother's name, father's name, my name, signed, and that's it. I think people take that for granted a little bit, that they can pull that out and look and say, wow, look at everything about me. And we're unable to do that. So the current bill really impedes on our right to know and identify with who we really are.
And Cam, I know that the health aspect, I know you talked to one of my my colleagues, and you said there's so much you can learn about your health, like what you need to know, like you know, just different things like that. What else are you looking forward to discovering?
Well, my birthday was changed from what I've been told by my biological mother, so that's very important to me, to see the birth certificate, to see when my actual birthday is, and to see if my biological father is listed, because I don't know if he is or not. You know, and so I think that's very important. And like Jenny was saying, like, people take advantage of that. So it's very important to find that information out.
Well, unfortunately, we are out of time and have to close, but a special thank you to my guests for sharing your stories and also your insight with our viewers. To learn more about the Rochester Adoptee Support Group or to join one of the group's monthly meetings, go to jennyrthomas.com.